What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Jacked Ramsays After Dark. Got most of the computer issues worked out, hopefully, at this point. Made a little bit of a different setup in here, even though I'm in the same room. A bunch of stuff has been moved around, so if I'm like looking around at stuff, actually, in fact, I'm going to move one of my other monitors so it's a little bit closer. There we go. So I'm not stabbing back and forth between the two of them. This is way late. I'm an old man. Yes, listen, man. I actually left before Jeremy's press conference availability because I needed to get home and get on the show. I tried to go live yesterday. My PC basically blew up on me. I had to put a new cooler and clean everything out. It wasn't actually as dirty as I thought it was going to be, but it was pretty dirty. So, yay. Long story short, Blazers win 135-106 over the Detroit Pistons. They're very bad. Like you take nothing away from this basketball-wise. There's nothing to be found. So that's something to take away. But as usual, like, rate, review, subscribe, do all the things. Help us grow the show. We really appreciate you. Last year, the calendar year was tremendous. It was each year has been built on one on the other. So thank you. Thank you for that. It's been awesome. The support has been incredible. So, but let's kind of dive into this. Obviously, the big news, the big, whatever. Gary Payton II played, and it was fun. The thing that sucked, it was against the Pistons from the sense of, like, how valuable is this? But I think you saw a lot of stuff of, like, I see what they're trying to do here. This is going to be a lot of fun. One thing that was really interesting about tonight, even beyond Gary, and maybe it is because of Gary, and Chauncey talked to us in the postgame, is his energy. It stands out so much that if you're not matching his energy, matching his vibes, you stand out. And tonight, the Pistons are sloppy because they're young. There's no doubt about that. But the Blazers also had 16 steals, and I think there was something there. As far as like the aggressiveness and the hustle and everything that kind of came with that. Just running through the game real quick, one thing that I'm taking away from tonight is Ant is the only player who played more than 30 minutes. I'm sure Chauncey would have tried to keep that down a little bit shorter, but also having watched teams blow monster leads over the last 2 weeks, he was probably pretty leery of that. So maybe he left guys in a little bit longer. You kept Dame under 30, you kept Josh under 30, you kept Jeremy under 30. Those are wins. Ant's 23. He's got legs. You'd probably hate me saying that, but I don't care. Before we get to the Gary stuff, tremendous performances from Jeremy and Ant. They were unbelievable. The Blazers scored 80 points in the second and third quarters combined, holding the Pistons to 55. That was just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. What's funny is Ant had 7 in the second, Jeremy had 12. You go to the third, and Ant had 14, and Jeremy had 13. Like, they put in a game's work in those 2 quarters. They were absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. See, in the second quarter, they shot, Jeremy was 4 of 4, Ant was 3 of 4. They were 3 of 3 from 3. And then their third quarter numbers were just as bonkers. Yeah, Ant was 5 of 6. Jeremy was 4 of 7. They were 5 of 8 from 3. Like, they listen, other guys contributed. Dame had 8 in the third, and I think Dame had an okay second, if I remember right. Yeah, Dame had 6 in the second. But Ant and Jeremy were just monsters offensively, which is kind of funny because I felt like Ant was taking the shots that he needed to take in the first quarter, just nothing went. They started turning them over. They started getting stops. They started getting runouts. Blazers 18 points in the paint in the second quarter, 11 bench points, which you love to see. And in the third quarter, the Blazers starters came back in and they just scored off turnovers. 13 points off turnovers. 13 fast break points. For a team that doesn't really run, and I think a big part of that is who played in the second and third quarters. Could that be Gary Payton II? Could that be the energy? Could that be forcing the action? I'll tell you this. Jaden Ivey hated every second of Gary Payton II guarding him. Every second of it. The mitten was worn tonight, all right? To be blunt, Gary got in that ass. And that's what he does. Corey Joseph tried to bring the ball up on him. He had to turn his back. Then he tried to use a pick, and that's when Gary got that deflection and dove for the ball and got that roll ahead pass to Ant that triggered the clear path foul. This is what guys like GP do. His job is to be that guy. He has the skills to be that guy. This is what makes him valuable, is that he puts you in a vice grip. Everybody talks about effort, intensity, and all that kind of stuff. Yes, that matters. But you don't think that there's 100 guys in the NBA every single year who could just try harder with millions of dollars on the line? It is a skill. What Gary Payton has is a skill. He is a dogged defender. And not just like, I try really hard. Plenty of guys try hard. Realistically, there are plenty of guys who try hard. They're just not good at it. It takes away, when you say that, it takes away from the skill level and the dedication and like the things that a guy like Gary Payton brings, or a guy like a Tony Allen brings, or Ben Simmons, a couple years ago that he brought. Like when they're that good at that thing, and Gary is quite literally in the 99th percentile. You look at his career, that's what he does. He generates steals. He is a pest. He is strong as hell. He is physical. He makes you uncomfortable. And you saw the Pistons guards turn their back and be supremely more protective with their dribble. And when you do that, you delay them getting in their offense. You delay them good looks on passes. You make them screen and rescreen and drag their offense further out. And while sometimes that's a good thing for an opponent, they want you to come out. The other part of that is you're so far now stretched away from your next closest pass, you can now jump passing lanes. That's what that stuff does. And you saw the impact. Again, Detroit is not a great measuring stick for all of this, but they're not good. They're very bad. They're very young. Bogdanovich is just out there like, I'm going to get buckets. That's it. And by the way, Bogey's a dude. What did he finish with tonight? 8 of 15, 21 points? Yeah. Professional bucket getter. He's going to go to a playoff team here at the deadline, and it's going to be an incredible grab. He's so good. But that second and third quarters, Gary plays less than 15 minutes. 13 minutes tonight. He finishes 3 of 4, hits that one corner three for his first look. 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 fouls, a steal, 2 turnovers. It was funny. He hit that 3, and it was like, yeah! His next possession down, he had a bad pass, bad handoff, and it turned into a turnover. And I was like, oh. And it was just, that's just rust. Gary showed you the things that he can do offensively. And one of the things that you saw a little flash of, listen, Gary hitting corner threes, like that's the one spot you want him taking. He shot, I think I've said, around 40%, I want to say, last year with the Warriors. It's 38, 39, 40, somewhere right in there. Which, fine. That's passable. That's good. We can work with that. That's enough of a floor spacer. but you saw Gary work as a screener in the pick and roll and catch in the short roll. He talked about it post game. He blew the layup, his second shot that he should have. If I remember right, that was him catching on the pick and roll or him on a back cut. But he worked in the short roll later, got to the open spot on the floor, and you can see the process. You can see the gears spinning. It's not a delayed thing. He's reading things in real time, and he catches in that space at the nail in that 4-on-3 situation, and he puts up that little floater and hits it. And it doesn't seem like much. It doesn't seem like it's this thing. It's like incredible. But having somebody who is, and listen, Nurk has been the last couple of weeks in particular, he's gotten better about this, about not forcing some of the action, particularly on the move. Nurk is one of his skill sets. He is not a passer on the move. When he is set or he can see over the top, he's a phenomenal passer. He can do stuff that most big guys can't do. Trendon, where he beats him out, or he beats out Nurk, is that Trendon off the bounce is a little bit better seeing stuff. Left, right, center, a little dump off here, a little drop there. Just got a little more wiggle, a little more vision on the move. Gary does it better than him. Because even though Gary's not a point guard or even really a guard, he's just a basketball player. He has that natural inclination to be, there. And you saw it with the lob from Gary to Shaden. I mean, that was athletically just an obscene play from Shaden. It's just absolutely nuts. It was a lot of fun. And then you also saw Gary, again, athletically steal on the inbounds dunk. It's just Gary's line, 6 points, a couple of assists, a couple of rebounds, like those. That's fine, but it's less tangible stuff. And honestly, I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but I'm going to say it anyways. I don't particularly care about Nurk or Gary's box score stuff for the most part. I don't for Nurk to be impactful, he just needs to be 7 foot 300 pounds. And stuff will just happen. Like rebounds will fall his way because he's carved a path out. He's beaten guys up. Shots will come his way on either offensive putbacks or rolling to the rim hard because people get the hell out of his way. Gary's very much like the defensive version of this. His aggressiveness of if you're dribbling a ball around Gary Payton II, you're like, nah, nope, I see you play. You're not coming this way. No, you're not. Like his energy, his aggressiveness. Like even though he's not 7 foot 300 pounds, he's 6 foot 3, 220. He's a truck. Stupid long arms, phenomenal timing, incredible one-step burst to jump lanes and get tip deflections and all that kind of stuff. But you feel him. You're aware of him. And the Blazers don't have many of those guys. Jeremy Grant, very good defender. He can defend pick and rolls. He can defend isolations. He can defend post-ups. He can defend guards. He can defend bigs. He can defend wings. People aren't aware of him. Josh Hart, dogged defender, gives you effort, gives you that intensity. People don't feel him, even though he's aggressive. And I'm not saying those guys aren't aggressive or not physical. Gary takes it up to another level. That's where it comes from. And he makes you feel him. Coach Billups in the postgame talked about when Gary's out there for 15, however many minutes he plays, you're not getting cheated is essentially what he said. In the sense of he goes. And Gary said in his postgame comments, I need to be able to go. Because when I go, it's all out. That's what happens. I see some people asking in the comments about Gary and how he felt. He said he rolled his ankle a little bit, but he was totally fine. He did after his first shift kind of come off a little. I think he rolled it right as he was heading to the bench because he tweaked it a little bit and he went straight to the bike to kind of keep the swelling from going down. That's just, it happens. But all of the box score stuff that you get from Gary, it's a bonus. And Chauncey kind of alluded to it tonight. It's nice that you get those points, but it's the energy, it's the intensity, it's the wearing on guys. And the question I had for Chauncey was, what does this do for you with your guys, particularly Josh and Jeremy, who are taking on these primary, point of attack assignments? That's a lot of work, man. And there's very few guys in the league who take on that primary assignment and are able to perform offensively. it just, it is what it is. I know some people have it in their heads like you can play two ways in the NBA at high levels. You can't. You can't. You have to pick and choose your times. Even the best, even the absolute best, even the Jimmy Butlers in their prime, the Hall of Famers, the Giannis's, the KDs, like you have a finite level of energy. How you use it and when you use it and how much of it you use is a difficult proposition. Dame and Ant, the offensive creation burden falls on them. And before that, it was Dame and CJ. You can't ask those guys to also take on primary defensive assignments and be as effective or efficient offensively. And it's the same for Josh and Jeremy. You can't sit there and ask Josh and Jeremy to give you efficient playmaking, scoring, rebounding, offense, all of it every single night, and go take on primary defensive assignments. You can't. You can't. It's just the way it is. So you have to divvy up these things. And Dame and Ant, their burden is to be offensive creators. And you see, like tonight, Dame doesn't have to get up shots. Dame finished third in shot attempts. He played facilitator. And that's because Dame is naturally going to slide into that on a night when other guys have it going. And the thing for me is that Gary is the one guy. And talking to people around the Blazers over the last couple of weeks, this was the thing that I kept getting over and over. And Brandon and I have talked about it a little bit. I've dropped it in a couple shows and a couple times on the radio. Gary's the one player here that allows you to do more stuff. Justice is like the light version because he's got some playmaking, and every now and then he's got some shooting, and he's physical. But he, like, as much as I love Justice, and I do, he doesn't have what Gary has. And that little bit of juice, not even a little bit, a lot of juice that Gary brings, there's a trickle-down effect. Now, even though, again, 13 minutes and 27 seconds, let's say that's 7 minutes or 8 minutes that Jeremy doesn't need to go out there. Let's say on a given night, Cleveland's coming to town coming up. Instead of having to pick up Donovan Mitchell for 32 minutes, or let's stagger, let's call it 24. You cut that down to 18. How much more effective can he be offensively? And you saw it tonight. Jeremy doesn't have to take on a huge toll. Dame doesn't have to take on a huge toll. Anthony doesn't have to take on a huge toll because they all get a little less bite of the apple defensively, where you're like, I got to win this possession. Gary's job is to come in and win that possession. And when they get healthier, when they get Justice back, when they get Nas back, you start to get an idea of like, okay. And I think you saw it tonight. Chauncey threw a lineup out there with Ant, Sharp, Gary, Trendon, Jeremy. Which obviously every lineup that had Gary in it was the first time tonight. But I was looking at that and I was like, you know what? Gary can cover up for Shaden there. And Gary, unprovoked, said he likes that, Shaden is kind of watching him and taking from him. And there was a point in time where I thought Gary was getting ready to check back into the game. And he was actually just going to bark at Shaden and tell him X, Y, and Z what was happening. You can see Shaden kind of nodding, taking it in. And listen, I would love Shaden to like fall under Dame's wing and like take that offense, but also Shaden falling under Gary's wing and going, hey, you'd be a really good defender, because Shaden does have those tools, right? But you just see the trickle-down effect throughout the roster and what that means. But also the lineup combinations, those opportunities that are there that haven't been there. Because he is the best point of attack defender on the team. It's unequivocal. He's that good. He's elite. This is what the Blazers signed him for, was to be that guy. Now, doing it against the Pistons is, it's whatever. But again, doing it against the Cavaliers, who have Donovan Mitchell, who went for 71, 11, and 8. My goodness, what a line. Against Darius Garland. Luka's a bit taller task. I think Gary's definitely going to get a bite at that apple. That's for sure. But like having the ability to give a different look. I know there's a lot of people who were talking about Jeremy's defense on point guards in general. Like, he's been fine. All the analytics, second spectrum, synergy, play-by-play data, like he's been fine. And actually, he's been good, particularly in isolation and pick and roll coverage. But having him do that all night isn't what they brought him in for. You know, I was talking to folks in the organization, and they were like, we haven't seen Jeremy not have to take that assignment all night. And I asked Chauncey, like, where would you, like, is point of attack all night? Is that how you want to deploy Jeremy's? No. I wish, you know, I could have Gary. I wish I could have Naz. I wish I could have Justice so that I don't have to do that with him all night long. He just happens to be the best option right now. When they're fully healthy, you can throw